Long before COVID-19 brought the world to a standstill, another virus wreaked havoc on humans, and this one stuck around for thousands of years. The variola virus, or smallpox, claimed the lives of up to 500 million people until humanity stopped it with the help of cows. Yep, you heard that right. Cows, the enduringly gentle mammals best known as milk machines. So how did our bovine buddies help us rid the world of a deadly virus? Well, my friend, let me take you on a voyage. Hey there friends, Mr. Mayflower here with another deep dive into a fascinating story from our past. If you love history, be sure to like this video and subscribe. And now let's get into how humanity beat smallpox. Before we dive into how cows became smallpox's kryptonite, let's examine why its eradication was so monumental. Make no mistake, this virus was no run-of-the-mill sickness. From George Washington's Continental Army to Pharaoh Ramses V, people from all walks of life contracted smallpox. It bypassed wealth, time, and distance to threaten generation after generation. Smallpox ravaged its victims with fever, body aches, and disfiguring pustules. The sores extended into the eyes, mouth, and throat, making it a truly miserable experience. Think chickenpox on steroids, but also super deadly. Most survivors suffered lifelong physical and mental scars. Some were left blind or sterile. Astoundingly, they were the lucky ones, as smallpox had a 30% fatality rate for its variola major variant. In comparison, during a flu season that we just had, an estimated 4.9 million people contracted influenza and 4,900 died. Therefore, that particular strain had a death rate of roughly 1%. So the variola major variant of smallpox was 30 times as deadly. There was a milder variant known as variola minor, but it wasn't anything to sneeze at. Being fatal in less than 1% of cases, it was slightly deadlier than the modern-day flu. As if an insane death rate wasn't bad enough, smallpox spread like wildfire, particularly in densely packed cities and regions. The virus incubated for 10 to 14 days without symptoms. While not contagious during this period, the infected could carry and soon spread the virus far beyond their homes, often none the wiser. Once symptoms began, patients remained contagious for 20 days or more, transmitting the virus through coughing or sneezing. You could even catch it from just touching materials exposed to skin sores such as bedding or clothing. Smallpox didn't merely pass through a town and claim a few lives before leaving. The initial wave killed large portions of the population when it reached new regions. We're talking about a third or more of your friends and family gone, just like that. And the carnage was far from over. Like chickenpox, survivors developed lifelong immunity, but smallpox outbreaks lingered among the uninfected, killing or maiming more and more. The cycle continued, even as the virus reached endemic status, or a constant presence in the community. Some years were worse than others, but smallpox remained a looming threat. Over the centuries, Africans, Asians, and Europeans learned to live with the virus in a far from harmonious relationship. Most adults in those regions survived the virus during childhood, preventing reinfection, but youngsters were left exposed. Scores died, with roughly 1 in 10 children in endemic areas like Sweden succumbing to the disease. In areas that hadn't experienced smallpox, its introduction proved catastrophic. As humanity developed ships that allowed us to explore the world, smallpox was a constant stowaway. It hitched a ride with travelers and annihilated new populations. Japan's great smallpox epidemic of 735 killed 30% of their population. The 1707 Icelandic outbreak claimed 12,000 lives. And then there was the New World outbreak. When Spaniards arrived in Hispaniola and Mexico in the 1500s, they unknowingly unleashed hell on the local inhabitants. With zero immunity, the native people were left helpless as the virus rampaged through populations, spreading from tribe to tribe. The Aztecs were particularly hard hit, losing nearly half the people in their capital city, including their emperor. Known as the Great Dying, The New World smallpox outbreak killed an estimated 25 to 56 million in North and South America. Along with other Old World pathogens, smallpox wiped out up to 95% of indigenous populations in the Americas. The scope of the Great Dying was so vast that it actually affected the global climate. So many people died so quickly that the lands they'd used for farming, roughly the size of France, became reforested, resulting in less CO2 in the atmosphere. Smallpox was an abominable adversary, and there was no treatment. Once infected, you just hope to survive while weathering the viral storm. Today, you can get an IV drip to prevent dehydration, and perhaps an antiviral medication to shorten an illness. Back then, you had to cool your feverish body with wet compresses and drink enough water to remain hydrated while sweating buckets. All you could do was rest, which generally meant lying in agony and counting down the seconds until it would end. Oh, and you were doing this all alone or confined to a smallpox hospital to contain the spread. Talk about hell on earth. Treating smallpox was impossible, but remember, humans are scrappy. Sure, we make some pretty poor life choices from time to time, but we never go down without a fight. One of the techniques designed to soften the virus's impact was called variolation. Named after smallpox's official moniker, the variola virus, this process appeared in Asia in the 1600s and spread worldwide, reaching Europe in the 1700s. It involved exposing people who'd never had the virus to tiny doses of it. They'd do this by taking the pus from a smallpox sore and scratching it into another person's skin or having them inhale it. Not exactly pleasant to imagine, right? While you would contract smallpox after variolation, you were less likely to die than if you contracted the virus naturally. Those who received variolation had a death rate of about 1 to 2%. Not the best odds to work with, but it was much better than 30%. Unfortunately, variolation was an imprecise science, some patients receiving too much viral load and others needing more to trigger an immune response. Patients could also develop secondary infections like syphilis from exposure to the donor's bodily fluids, since bloodborne pathogens weren't really on anyone's radar back then. Every patient, young or old, rich or poor, took a gamble, and some paid with their lives. Prince Alfred and Prince Octavius from England died after variolation. Variolation was a step in the right direction, but far from a smallpox solution. So, who slayed smallpox? A big brain in a castle? A prestigious hospital? Nope. This time, an everyday Joe got the job done with the help of cows. Edward Jenner was an English doctor born in rural Gloucestershire in 1749. Fascinated by science and raised around agriculture, Jenner combined book smarts with everyday wisdom that he gleaned from farmers to tackle smallpox. Records show that, while doing an apprenticeship at age 13, Jenner heard a dairymaid say,
"I shall never have smallpox, for I have had cowpox. I shall never have an ugly pockmarked face."
Indeed, many people back then believed that dairymaids were somehow protected from smallpox. Did it have something to do with cowpox? Cowpox is a milder virus in the same genus as smallpox. It typically spreads to humans through milking, leaving farmers with blistered extremities, enlarged lymph nodes, and a fever. Sounds familiar, right? Jenner theorized that instead of exposing people to smallpox through variolation, the safer cowpox virus could be used instead. To test his hypothesis, Jenner took material from a cowpox lesion on milkmaid Sarah Nelms's hand. Then he transferred it into cuts on the arm of 8-year-old James Phipps in 1796, infecting him. Phipps recovered from cowpox, and then Jenner exposed him to smallpox on multiple occasions over several months. The young boy did not fall ill, proving the method's efficacy. Jenner called his method a vaccine, paying homage to the farm animal responsible for helping humanity. How? Vacca is Latin for cow. Some people were sketched out about intentionally contracting a cow disease to prevent smallpox. Others mocked the doctor's theory, joking that the vaccinated would grow cows' heads. Still, the concept of a safer smallpox preventative stirred up interest from everyday folk and governments alike. Demand for Jenner's vaccine grew, replacing variolation as the ideal smallpox prevention, and soon, infection and mortality rates fell. Seeing the potential, experts sought ways to improve the vaccine and apply the methodology to other viruses. In the 1800s, the cowpox virus was replaced in the vaccine with its cousin, the vacca virus, for reasons unknown, though it remained effective. Thanks to widespread vaccination, by 1952 the virus was eliminated in North America, followed by Europe. Still, over 150 years after the vaccine's invention, smallpox outbreaks continued where vaccination was less prevalent, including pockets of South America, Africa, and Asia. This pushed the World Health Organization to launch an initiative to eliminate smallpox through global vaccination efforts in the 1950s. Unfortunately, a lack of funding, manpower, and cooperation left the efforts on shaky ground. But humanity wasn't deterred. Experts developed a shelf-stable, freeze-dried version of the vaccine and an affordable bifurcated needle. These were game changers in the fight against smallpox. Vaccination rates exploded around the world, protecting generations from the horrible virus that had claimed the lives of so many. With the renewed fight, smallpox was officially declared eradicated on May 8, 1980, nearly 200 years after Edward Jenner's crazy cowpox experiment. Thanks for diving deep into the story of how humanity defeated smallpox with me, Mr. Mayflower. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and subscribe. God bless you, my friend, and we'll see you in the next video.